Young Professionals Connect is an initiative that supports young professionals in their career journeys. YPC provides an opportunity to network and learn with industry professionals.
Join us.
To get all updates, follow us on all social media platforms.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the YPC webinar on building your career passport. As a way of introduction, my name is Mary and I am the lead director at YPC. My career is within the insurance space. So I work in a life insurance company as an actuarial analyst, and my work is centered more around like reserving and modeling and reporting. But also on the YPC team, we have Hannah, who will be my co-host and moderator today. And we also have Babajide, who is one of our panelists. So YPC stands for Young Professionals Connect. It is an organization created by Great Light Church based in London. Our aim is to provide a platform to support young professionals in advancing and excelling in their careers. We essentially create networking and learning opportunities to empower, equip, and encourage young professionals. So do follow us on Instagram at YPC_London, and also visit our website at www.ypcglobal.com. For those of you on Clubhouse, if you just click my bio, all the information is there. So do give us a follow. So we do hope that you take from this session lots of helpful tips and insights for your career, and above all, that you are inspired to do over and beyond in your career journeys. So the agenda for today is, first, we'll be hearing from all our panelists, and then we'll move on to a Q&A session. So if you have any questions during the session, please pop them in the Q&A chat box on Zoom. And for those of you on Clubhouse, one of the moderators will bring you up on stage during the Q&A session. So please just write down your questions somewhere, and towards the end, we'll kind of pick up on those. And could I also ask for the moderators to unmute themselves when they are speaking on Clubhouse? So as not to waste any more time, our first speaker is Babajide Teller, who is also on the YPC team. He is a VP HR business partner within the financial services. He'll be speaking to us today about his career journey and provide more insight into interviews and CVs and hiring practices. So hi, Babajide, welcome. Hello, you there?
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Babajide, take it away.
Thanks, Mary. Hello, everyone. For those on Zoom and those on Clubhouse, really good to be here, guys. So as Mary said, my name is Babajide Teller. I currently work as a HR business partner at one of the tier 1 global investment banks here in England. And prior to now, I was a student. I studied in Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria. I studied chemical engineering, but currently working, doing something totally different from what I studied. And in my role, my current role, so basically my role is just focused around advising senior leaders within the corporate and investment banking division of the company that I work for, just around their people's related matters. And in addition to that, I partner a lot with all of the key HR specialists, say from the talent acquisition team, which some organizations refer to as the recruiting team, to working very closely with the learning and leadership development team, the compensation and benefits team, and really every other part of HR. So you can call me the bridge between the HR specialist function and the business, and just making sure that we're aligning our strategic people elements, aligning that with the business strategy too as well, to ensure we're delivering really good quality experience to people. We're measuring success, in a very fair and open way, and really, yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of an introduction to myself. Now, outside of working as a HR business partner, I've previously done talent acquisition. I actually did that back into, I think, 2017. I did that for about 2 years when I was tapped on the shoulder to come and look after one of our line of business. And this was at a time when, the UK was leaving the EU. So we needed to expand our business into other EU countries. And I was responsible for getting bums on seats into 4 different locations across Europe, whilst I was still doing the day-to-day recruiting element for the same line of business here in the UK. And that was on top of my role as HR business partner. So when I'm not working, when I'm not doing 9 to 5, yeah, what else am I doing? I love to write, and I love to write about money and technology. So I'm the guy that, they always talk about money every time. I think I found a very new interest in blockchain technology at the moment, where, it's everything cryptocurrency. You find me most of the time late at night, just reading research paper, trying to figure out what the next big Bitcoin is going to be, and trying to, just talk to friends and bounce ideas off them. And when I'm not doing that, you probably find me spending time with my daughter, my wife, and you also have me on TV. I love Yoruba movie a lot. I'm a Nollywood fan, so just so everyone knows that. But yeah, that's pretty much it about myself. I'm just gonna stop there. I know there are a number of questions that are lined up already for every one of us, and I know we've got all the speakers as well here with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba, for that. Just to reset the room for those that are just currently joining us on Clubhouse and on Zoom, this platform is brought to you by YPC. It is a Young Professionals Connect. So please click on my bio for following us to get more information. Today, we're talking about building your career passport. So the tools, the skill sets, even the mindsets that is required to progress in your career, and how to transition from one industry to another, or how to move into entrepreneurship. So these are the topics we'll discussing today. So our next panelist is Makeda Phillips, who will be speaking about her career journey as a senior business analyst. She'll be providing more insight to changing industries and reinventing yourself. So hi, Makeda, welcome.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, so I'm Makeda. I work in technology. I'm a senior business analyst, and I've worked across 5 different industries over the last 7, 8 years. So I've moved in industries quite a bit. So I started off working in publishing. So I worked for the Wall Street Journal, Dow Jones, and the Times. And I worked mostly within the customer management space. So looking after their platforms, payments and billings for their apps and their websites as well. And I think when I moved on from publishing, that was the point at which I really started to understand how important transferable skills are. So after about 2 years, I decided that I wanted to do something different. And I didn't actually choose to move industry. I kind of was just looking for business analyst roles. And I came across quite a few, but ended up interviewing at a consultancy and 2 banks. And in that process, I had to really put my skills to action and prove or show these companies how I can apply my skills. So within publishing, I would say critical thinking, problem solving were the types of skills that I had to really utilize. And going through kind of interview processes, I had to take a look at my soft skills and have a look at the landscape of the companies that I was applying for, and try to work out how to sell myself essentially. And one of the things that I learned is how important it is to not only look at your skills, but also look at your day-to-day kind of tasks and your day-to-day activities, and look beneath just, communication, and try to work out or try to find out, given what the companies that you're applying for, what types of problems are they trying to solve, and seeing how your skills can fit. So I left publishing, I moved over into consulting, and I worked at Deloitte for 2.5 years. And again, at Deloitte, as you can imagine you're a consultant, so your job is to bend to whatever the client needs. And again, your transferable skills again come into play there. So that's probably the place where I learned most about how to apply my communication and kind of tailor for the different industries I was working in. So within Deloitte, I worked for a number of different clients in different industries, from e-commerce to finance. And going through kind of internal interviews for these clients, again, I had to utilize the skills that I had and make sure that I'm kind of meeting up the expectations of what these companies wanted to achieve. So stayed in professional services for a while, and then I moved on into insurtech, and then now I'm into travel technology. So Chayline I kind of classified as a travel company, but their core product offering is technology. So I've moved around quite a bit. I would say the first kind of thing that I mentioned, how important it is to look beyond your day-to-day activities and kind of dive into some of the more abstract things that you may do to try to pull out those transferable skills. But then I also learned how important your network is. So for the last 2 companies that I've worked for, I didn't apply for them. So I was able to move industry because of my network and people that I had met from previous companies. So your network is really, really important in that sense and has really helped me move 5-6 industries over the last couple of years. But I will say your network can get you in, but your transferable skills and actually utilizing and applying them is the thing that's going to make you successful. So when I moved into insurance, I knew absolutely nothing about insurance. And my colleague from my previous company, Deloitte, had asked me to come over and work with him. And yeah, I knew nothing about insurance. So in that event, what I did is just immerse myself into the industry. And I tried to do that with every industry that I moved between. So immerse myself in terms of going to events, reaching out to subject matter experts on LinkedIn, and just trying to find out a bit more about that industry. And with that knowledge, you are really able to apply your skills and your transferable skills into roles that you're going into. So that's a little bit about me, the different industries that I've worked in. But the key thing that I would say is to definitely be brave and just immerse yourself in that industry as much as you can. Reach out to people, because that's definitely been my top tip and allowed me to move kind of so smoothly between different industries. Hope that's me.
Thanks, Makeda, for that. Quick question though. So a lot of people are, looking to maybe move into different industries. You spoke about these skills, these transferable skills. How does one then build up if you don't really know this industry and you've got to have these specific skills? How do you kind of build up on those skills in the place you are in now? And then when you move into a new place, how you then build yourself up so you don't look too lost when you're somewhere new?
Yeah, no, I understand you. So lateral moves is something that I think is also really important. And when I say lateral moves, I mean seeing what moves you can make within your company and what experience you can get within your company. So currently at Trainline, I'm a pure senior business analyst, but at previous companies, I've done a hybrid kind of product role, and I was completely new to product. It kind of works in the same area that I do, but the way that I was able to enhance those skills was by going out into different departments and talking to different people and basically asking them if I can support them, or if I can take over any of the work that they're doing, and just monitor them for as long as I can, just to understand how that role works. So lateral moves and internal is always the thing that I look at first before trying to move industry. And that also gives you a leg up when you're trying to move, because you can say like you have had experience or you've tried out this thing before. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, again, there's so much knowledge out there and so much information. I stay on Eventbrite all the time, and I'm always looking at different events and for topics I'm interested in. And when I moved into insurance, I attended probably like 10 insurance events, which was fun. And the purpose of that was just to understand the industry a bit more, understand the drivers, understand the levers, what are they interested in, what problems are they trying to solve, what do they care about? And once I had an idea of those types of things, I was able to say, okay, well, I can do this, I've done this before. So I can apply this, and it helps when you have when you go into interviews, your conversations that you're having are different. You're having conversations about the industry things that they care about, and how your experience in, I don't know, communication or documentation can help elevate that area for them. So it really helps to drive the different conversations you're having. So in short, lateral moves, and then also events, get into the industry.
Thank you for that, Makeda. I mean, one thing I definitely picked up from that was that a lot of times when we're networking, we always just try to get names on our books, who we know, just, so I can say I know this person, or ask this person for a job. But actually, when you're networking, you should start looking to how can I learn from these people? How can the skills that I need, how can I get that from them, you know? And, you know, you would be surprised that not all networks give you a job, but they can definitely help you with just learning and, you know, improving yourself. And that definitely goes a long way. So yeah, thank you for that, Makeda. Again, just to reset the room, and if you do have questions, don't forget you can ask, you can put your questions in the Q&A box. Or you can raise your hand up on Clubhouse, and then the moderators will bring you up. But just to reset the room, we're talking about building your career passport. So the tools, the skill sets, and even the mindsets required to progress in your career. So the next panelist is Gina, who will be speaking to us about her career journey as an entrepreneur and a fitness expert, and providing more insight into building your own brand. So hi, Gina.
Hi, hold on. Hi. Hi, everyone. So I'm Gina. So a bit about me. I currently am a fitness expert, entrepreneur. I've been in the industry since 2013, I'd say. But obviously I didn't always start there. So I was a adjudicator at the Financial Ombudsman Service. And whilst I was doing that job, I kind of fell into my passion for fitness. And it was something that I did on the side. And then I was there for about 3 years, and I was really passionate about fitness, and obviously doing my fitness on the side and even on my lunch break and just whatever I could. But I felt like my time at that job was up, but I wasn't confident enough to kind of leave that job and go and pursue fitness full time. So I then moved on to be a probation officer, because my background is, my degree in uni was I got an undergrad degree in criminology and social policy. So I wanted to at least work in kind of the field that I graduated in. So I applied to be a probation officer and then landed that job. And the plan was only to be there for like a year, just to kind of gain the experience, find my feet. And then obviously if it's something that I do want to kind of come back to in the future, then I can. But again, I got really comfortable when I was there, and 1 year turned into 3. But at the same time, I became extremely passionate about health and fitness and trying to kind of create a brand and a business. So I was doing both at the same time. And I guess I kind of just got to a crossroad where I knew that I was no longer like serving my offenders at probation. And I knew that I really wanted to kind of do fitness full time. So, and again, because obviously it's something that was heavy on my heart and something I'd been trying to do for years, I knew that it was about doing it, but it was just the timing was never right. So I set myself certain targets in order to be able to do it. So first things first, I had like a financial goal. So I set a goal that I wanted to reach financially, and said, okay, cool. If I was to not get any business for like a year or year and a half, could I be able to sustain myself with the savings that I had? So I made sure that that was the first thing that I did. And obviously because I was working already, like doing like personal training and stuff, so I knew the income was going to come in, but I just needed to have a contingency plan just in case. And then after that, once I reached that financial goal, I didn't quit my job, because fear literally kind of consumed me, and I was finding all the excuses as to why I shouldn't quit my job and like stay, you know, like consistency with income, security. And it was just the fear of no longer having that, which was really putting me off. So I prayed about it, and it's something that I continue to do. But the funny thing was, I had confirmation from 2 different people that I was meant to quit my job. So one of my clients randomly messaged me one day at like 7 in the morning, and she was like, oh, I just had a dream. And it was very metaphoric. And she was like, it's like she gave me, it was so funny because she gave me like a metaphor, and she kind of used examples of like what we did in training. And she was like, I don't know what you're planning to do, but whatever it is, God's got you in it. So just go ahead and do it. And I was like, oh man, like I don't want the confirmation because I don't want to do it. But then, so then that happened. And then I had somebody else come to me and was like, oh, I've been really thinking about like your career and stuff, and I really think you should do it, blah, 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 blah. So I thought, you know what? This is definitely confirmation that it's something that I'm meant to be doing and something that's my purpose. So I eventually handed in my notice, and then the rest was history. But one of the things I will say that prevented me originally from kind of like leaving my 9 to 5 and going into fitness was because I'm kind of like, I feel like when like a lot of people are younger, they kind of know what they want to do when they grow up. So they'll say, okay, you know what, I want to be like a lawyer, or I want to be a doctor, I want to be blah, blah, blah. Because I never had that kind of, I never had that focus, especially when it came to fitness. So like my background, I was not active. I used to like forge my mum's signature, so I can't do PE. Like I was not into fitness at all. So for me to now have a career in fitness, I just kind of felt like, is this a phase, or is this what I'm actually really meant to be doing? So that was also another thing that kind of held me back. And I didn't want it to be like a thing where I quit my job and then after a year, I'm no longer interested, or I'm no longer passionate. And obviously now it's become a job. It's not the same, it's not a hobby. So that was also something that I kind of battled with, but so far so good. So that's literally kind of been the journey into like getting into fitness and transitioning from like a full 9 to 5 to where I'm at now. In terms of like branding, I think one of the things that I would say is, obviously with like the kind of job that I do and me being on social media, it is very, very, very kind of saturated. So I'm in a heavily saturated industry, and at times it might be hard to kind of find your voice. And that's also kind of something that kind of not prevented me, but kind of held me back and didn't allow me to kind of go full throttle. But I guess it's about having confidence and really believing in what you're doing. And I know this sounds really cliche, but you know how they always say, if you go to like the bread aisle in Asda, there's about 10 different brands of bread who all, it's just bread. So I kind of had to see what I was doing as that. Like, okay, there's loads of people in my industry, loads of people providing a similar service, but each brand has their own USP. Like certain people like Hovis, certain people like, I don't eat bread, what's another bread brand? Kingsmill, do you know what I mean? So there's different types of brands for different people. So it's about kind of finding your unique voice and honing that really in, and just being so authentic and true to yourself that regardless of however many people are in your industry, those that are meant for you and meant to kind of see what you do will naturally gravitate to you anyway. So I had to do a lot of tunnel vision and not kind of watch what everybody else was doing around me. And it is hard, especially in this day and industry where social media is everything. And again, with the kind of job that I do, being like a content creator, 90% of the stuff you do is online and on Instagram and on social media. So it's easy to kind of get caught up in what other people are doing and watch what they're doing. But yeah, I just had to kind of keep tunnel visioned and be focused on like what I believed I was meant to do and my calling. And that's kind of helped me stay on course and stay the distance, to be fair. In terms of mistakes that I've learned along the way, one thing I didn't mention before though is when I originally quit my job and then transitioned into like my my business, I was still treating it like a hobby. And I didn't mentally switch and start treating it like a business straight away. So I quit my job, and obviously because I was doing so much at the time, so working the 9 to 5, training clients before and after work, doing meal prep on Sundays, it was very consuming. So the moment I quit my job, I kind of just went into holiday mode. I was like, oh, I can wake up when I want. I can like schedule clients when I want. And I was still treating it like a hobby, but I didn't have the financial consistency that I would have got with my 9 to 5. So, you know, when I was working my job, I wasn't really focused on how much I was making every month because it was just extra income because I obviously had like my 9 to 5 money. So once I quit, it was like a real shock in the beginning when I was just like, oh, like I actually have to treat this as a work, like the same way I'd get up at night, like get up at whatever time to get to work and have like a structured day. I had to start implementing those things into my business. And that's something that's one of the mistakes I did in the beginning that I had to learn along the way. But I guess because I wasn't from a business background, so it was all stuff that I kind of learned along the way and learned on the job. But one thing I would say to anyone who is interested in kind of transitioning is just to make sure that you're prepared financially and also mentally in how you're going to kind of structure yourself moving forward, because it's all well and good quitting. And then once you quit, you need to kind of treat this as your job. Like it has to become work for you, not in a negative way, but just in a way where you have structure and you're able to kind of see your business grow as if it was another company, if that makes sense. So that was definitely one of the mistakes that I've kind of learned and had to battle with. And I think also for me, it's confidence. So confidence and fear are things that, although I've managed to do it, they're things that I've always kind of wrestled with. Like no matter what stage I'm at in my business, or my career, it's always something that I'm just always second guessing myself and stuff like that. But I guess with me, although I second guess and I have the fear, it doesn't deny me from doing it. It's just I drag my feet a little bit more. So I'm still able to push through and pass that barrier to eventually do what I need to do. It just takes me longer than it should because I'm kind of going through the motions. But I guess the stage I'm at now is I really believe in just feeling the fear and doing it anyway, because you've got nothing to lose. And I guess everything for me is a learning curve. So like the thing that I just mentioned before, that being a mistake, it's like, okay, well, I'm happy I've gone through that because now moving forward, or I know how to kind of operate in that system if I was to kind of create another business, or even if I was like being on this platform now to be able to give advice to anybody else. So yeah, I kind of just always know that I have to operate in a space of fear. And I always feel like even if I'm scared, it clearly means that I'm passionate about what I'm doing, because if I wasn't scared or nervous, then I wouldn't really be bothered about it. But it's because I really want to do a good job, or I'm so invested in what I'm doing, that I have those kind of like fears and jitters. So I just see it as part of the process, really. I think that's about it from me. I feel like I've waffled.
No, thank you so much, Gina, for sharing a bit about your journey. Gina, can you go on mute? Thanks. Thank you so much, Gina, for sharing a bit about your journey and giving us an insight into, you know, your transition from the sort of 9-to-5 life to being a business owner and a successful business owner. And also giving us some, you know, some of the struggles that you face. So hopefully that will help, you know, people who are hoping to walk along that sort of similar path, or, you know, thinking about, you know, building their own business or that kind of thing. A question for you, Gina, being that you are a successful business owner or entrepreneur, and you know, part of that is, you know, you've had a lot of successful partnerships, be it brand partnerships, be it people that you work with. What's a tip that you can give people who are considering, you know, who to work with, who to, you know, attach themselves to? How do you decide what brands to work with or what people to partner with?
I think you have to feel it. So it has to, like, I'm very big on kind of like listening to my feelings. So I have to generally be excited about it, and also see the benefit for both parties involved. And I guess always try and understand what the business requires from you, and also if they align with whatever it is that you're doing, because it's all well and good taking a check, but if they're not in line with your goals or with your brand, everyone's going to see straight through that. And I feel like if you're trying to be an authentic business owner, people can really see like the fluff and the phoniness straight away. So you have to be really careful about who you align yourself with, because brand alignment is everything. So I think that's one thing that I would definitely kind of get people to pay attention to. And also, I think never sell yourself short. I think, like I said, I mentioned before, like confidence and fear. If I'm honest with myself, I sold myself short for years, like absolute years. And sometimes when I look back, I just think, oh, Gina, like I would never, like in this day, like the confidence I have now, and I guess that also comes with experience though. I now know a lot more, like I now know my worth a lot more, and know what I would accept and what people require from you. Because a lot of these companies will approach you, and in your mind, especially if you're kind of starting out, you always see it as, oh, but it's exposure, and you know, you're going to be able to tap into their market and stuff like that. And that's not always the case though, because a lot of the time they might just require a lot more from you than they're willing to give back. Does that make sense? So when you kind of like weigh up what they're offering you financially, marketing, like what they're actually going to do with whatever your collaboration is it generally going to be worth what they're asking for? Because a lot of people are cheeky, and I guess that's just the nature of business. Like people always ask for the most, and it's like if you don't ask, you don't get. So you can't really take it personal, but just know and understand what you're willing to accept and what you believe you're worth, and always negotiate. Like never accept an offer, like whatever the first offer is, never accept it, and always go in with your chest, even if your chest is way high. Like honestly, just go in with your chest, because you never know you will never, like, whatever you go in with, even if you think you're being really ambitious, just know that from that point onwards, you'll be able to negotiate a lot more and accept whatever more that you're kind of willing to offer. So for example, like, if you've been offered a job and you know that you want £1,000 for the job, right? Never go in and say I want £1,000, because they're most likely going to push back from that £1,000 and go lower. So if you do want that £1,000, maybe £2,000, £1,500. So you know that at least when you are negotiating, they don't know that £1,000 is your bait, is like the amount that you generally are happy with, but you might even be able to get more. So that's also something that I would advise people to do. And also, sorry, quickly, if you are shy about talking about money, then get an agent, because I got an agent last year, and since getting an agent, life has been so much easier because she handles all those awkward conversations and I don't have to do any of that. And she made me realize how short I was selling myself, because she doesn't play when it comes to asking for money. And the beauty is, the way my agent works is she always asks for an agency fee that the brand have to pay. So that never comes out of my pocket. So I know some people might think, oh, getting an agent cuts into like you, but just find an agent that you can work with where brands will be willing to pay the agency fee. So then that doesn't come out of your pocket. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gina. Thank you for that. Thank you again, Gina, Makeda, and Baba, for being moderators and panelists today. We're now going to go into a little bit of a Q&A session. There's been a couple of questions come through. If you do have questions, please do put them on the chat function in Zoom, and also just feel free to raise your hand on Clubhouse and you can get your questions answered by our panelists. Go to the next question. So a question has come through for, I think this is for Gina. How do you build a successful customer base?
I guess it's about the service that you provide. Like, if you are great at your job and you leave people feeling happy and satisfied with what you do, a lot of the time they will do a lot of the marketing for you. So word of mouth, they'll tell their friends. So that's definitely something that's worked for me. And also, I guess social media for me anyway. So because a lot of the stuff I do, I put out on social media, that has allowed me to kind of get a really good customer base. Like when I first started PT, and 99% of my clients all came from Instagram. And it was just because I was putting out content and showing the clients I was working with and showing their progress and just kind of allowing people to see like the full journey between me and my clients. So they were kind of aware of what they would also get if they were to take up my service as well. But ultimately, it's about you and you positioning yourself as the expert or as the best person to go to for the job. And I feel like once you do that, it'll be easy to kind of retain customers and get people speaking about you and just allowing your work to speak for itself rather than you having to like champion yourself.
Yeah. Makes sense. We have another question that's come in. I think this is for both Makeda and Gina, actually. So Makeda, I'll ask you this first. What do you think has given you an edge over others when moving industries?
I think taking the time to kind of build up domain knowledge in the industry that I'm moving into has probably given me a bit of an edge over others. And I know this goes past like researching into the role or researching into the industry, but actually starting to answer the questions that you would expect to answer if you worked in the industry. So understanding, like I spoke earlier, the movers, the drivers, and really immersing yourself in there, especially if you're coming from a different industry. They're going to expect that you're not going to know things, and when you do, you surprise them, and again, you can drive the conversation and have a lot more confidence in the interviews. So definitely trying to build up domain knowledge prior to moving into a new industry or role has helped me.
And I guess same question to you, Gina. What do you think has given you a competitive edge over, you know, like you mentioned earlier, there's various different, you know, competitors in the industry. What do you think has given you a bit of a competitive edge?
I think for me, I've just always been authentic to myself. So I feel like I've always kind of branded myself in a way that people kind of related to. So I always made myself like the girl next door, or like, and I guess it's because the way I am, I can't fake it till I make it, to be honest. Like, it's just not in my bones. So I've always just naturally been a person who will always put their best foot forward and be authentically myself. So I guess I feel like that's one of the reasons why I've been able to kind of like be great in the space that I'm in. And also, if I'm honest, when I first started when I first went into my industry, although it was competitive, it wasn't competitive with people that look like me. So there wasn't a lot of Black females in my industry doing what I was doing. So I was one of the first. So that also gave me an edge and gave me, I guess, the notoriety. So now, although it's saturated, I'm still the go-to person because I've been doing this for ages. So that's also definitely been something that has worked to my advantage as well.
Thanks, Gina and Makeda, for that. We have Susan on stage on Clubhouse. Susan, would you like to unmute and comment or ask a question?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Thanks for bringing me up on stage. Hi, everyone. Great room. Sorry, I joined a bit late, but I think I was interested in what Geen was saying about social media helping business to grow. And the question, I suppose, is how have you managed to, well, at the time you started, because I've got a hair extensions company where I sell wigs and extensions, generally catering to the Afro-Caribbean sort of hair textures. There's some days that I feel a bit, I don't know if I'm, doing the right thing. And since this day is quite saturated, but I believe in my brand, I believe in my business. I'm getting the customers and getting the traction. But at the same time, being a new starter into this market can be a bit daunting. So the question, I suppose, is how did you keep yourself, make yourself have that continuous mindset so that you were performing every day and suppose showing up on social media to drive your brand? Thank you. That's me done.
Was it working? Hi, Susan. So I guess there's different ways to do it. So like if you know that you kind of have to go based on your moods. So I'm like that. So I can only create content when I'm in the right space, because I feel like, again, if I'm not in the right space, it's not authentic and I don't feel it and it just doesn't come out the way I need it to. So I kind of schedule my content days. So I will film a bunch of content in one go. So that kind of eliminates me having to kind of go based on my mood. So if I'm, do you know what I mean? If I'm not up for it, I've already got content there. So I always stay prepared. So I kind of like block out my content. So I always kind of like schedule my week. So I know by Sunday night what I'm posting Monday to Friday or Monday to whatever, however many days it is. I've got it all there, the posts, the captions, the hashtags. Like, it sounds really monotonous and tedious, but it just makes life so much easier and structured when maybe life happens or you don't get to kind of stick to your schedule by having all of that stuff there. And I think you just have to literally keep showing up and being consistent, and also trying to be unique, because social media is a saturated space anyway. So just trying to always create content that others aren't creating. So try and find new ways or new spins on how to kind of push your message to your audience, because repetitive content will get ignored, especially if it looks familiar or similar to something they've seen before. Instantly, people aren't gonna kind of tune in or gravitate towards it. So I guess just kind of keep it always fresh and exciting, and always kind of like innovating stuff that you put out there. That's what I would say. I hope that helps.
I try to create a lot of content over the weekend and like do it automatically. We automatically schedule it during the week, so that kind of helps. But yeah, I'll take your other points on board as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a question here to Makeda. So it says, what advice would you give to somebody that wants to progress but may be worried about stepping into such a competitive industry?
Sorry. So advice I would give, so I've got two pieces of advice. So first advice is to be bold and go for it, especially, so I work in a tech industry, and over the last couple of years, there's been a huge migration of people that have been interested or keen to work within technology. And I would say be absolutely bold, go for it. Talk to people that may be in a role that you want to apply for or in a company that you want to apply for. And I think that's probably the scariest part, reaching out to people, but it's definitely helped me. So be bold, reach out to people, and know your skill gap as well. So you're not going to come and be ready for every single role, but know your skill gap before somebody else can bring it to your attention. And that just comes with being honest about what you can do and what you can't do, where you need to expand your skills. It's better to be honest about where you are and what you know, rather than go in blind. And as Gina said earlier, fake it till you make it. It works sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't, especially going into really competitive industries. So know your skills gap, reach out to people, and mostly just be bold and go for it.
Can I just chime in? Oh, sorry. Is it fine? All right. So what I'm just going to add to that, and thank you very much, Makeda, for that. I think one thing that, that I've learned, over the years is when it comes to switching industries, you've probably got to think about it from a three angle. You've got to think about it, say from a slightly different perspective too as well. So what I tend to say to people is think about this, looking at three different pillars. So when it comes to career switch, a lot of the time people think about career switch as I want to switch completely from finance to go, to become a software engineer. A lot of the time when it comes to career switch can either be, either you're switching industry, career switch could either be you're changing, from being a finance person to becoming, an engineer. And career switch sometimes could actually go in the, into the bucket of geography too as well, where you're changing location. Now, depending on how many of these things that you want to combine together, that's what determines the level of complexity when it comes to actually making that switch happen. So what people tend to do a lot of the time is to kind of think about them, bit by bit. So for example, if I know that, I want to go in, I want to say move away from being, working in HR to say becoming someone that works, say let's say become a software engineer within the technology space, right? What I could potentially start with is I could potentially start by saying, you know what, let me switch my industry from financial services to trying to get into technology, even within the same HR function that I'm currently working in. And once I'm able to kind of crack that door, I can then start exploring opportunities within that same industry. Because aside from just talking to people, there's also a very, a huge thing when it comes to being keyed into a particular industry. And when you're in an industry, it's pretty much easy for you to kind of navigate your way through that same industry, versus when you are totally outside of that industry and you're looking to explore a totally different career within another industry, different from the one you are in now. So what I do say to people is think about which of the steps you want to get started with. Now, if you're looking to combine the three of them, it's going to be very difficult for you to actually get that new role by just applying to a job. Say you want to change location, at the same time you want to change your industry, and at the same time you want to change your, your career path. Just trying to move and make that thing happen all in one go might be very, very difficult. Not saying it's not possible, it is very possible, but can sometimes be very difficult. Now, in situations like that, reaching out to people proactively, might be one of the key ways for you to actually make that happen. Networking with people, and constantly, showing interest in specific things, I think, is also another important thing. If you say you want to combine two out of those three, okay, say I'm just going to switch industry and I'm just going to make a career change at this point, say moving from finance to software engineer, like the example I gave earlier. Again, networking very key in that regards. But then again, I think picking one before the other might also get you closer to get into the final hand that you really want to get to. So I think all of those things are very, very key. Another good thing to probably bear in mind is you've got to be able to demonstrate that you're very, very interested in that industry that you're looking to get into, or in that career path that you're looking to follow. So I'll use myself as an example. I'm very much interested in payments. I'm currently building my own fintech app at the moment, still at this very early stage. But if you think about my career path, I've been doing HR for over 7 years now, right? And for me, it's all about being able to, to be able to command specific things when I actually decide to launch my product in the payment space, and be, at the same time, get people to actually still respect and listen to me when I'm speaking to investors or when I'm pitching to regulators about specific things that I want to do in that particular industry. But I can always refer people to my website to actually see how I've shared my thoughts on specific topics. People can easily, get that alignment in terms of my interest and how I'm not just saying I want to get into this space, but just by virtue of getting into that space. So sometimes it's about, it's about you planning your path towards a certain direction, but making sure that the interest element is, you're very clear on that. And at the same time, those 3 pillars that I mentioned, depending on which of them you want to go with first, or if you're really keen on combining 3 of them or 2 of those 3 things at the same time. I yield.
Thank you for that, Makeda and Baba. A good follow-up question that we've had is, how old is too old to make a change in my career? So I will pose that question to all 3 of our panelists, so Babajide, Makeda and Gina. So if we start with Gina, how old is too old to make a career change?
I don't think there's an age, because as long as you're passionate about what it is you're looking to do in the future, and you find that whatever you're doing currently no longer serves its purpose, then you can take that step. Obviously, it depends. Like, when you are younger, you have a lot less responsibilities, ideally. But for me, it's about the feeling. Like I said, so I'm very big on kind of listening to how I feel. And I wouldn't be able to stay in a job that makes me really miserable, even if I felt that I was at an age where, it might be a bit harder for me to get into something else. But because I'll be thinking about just my quality of life and my happiness, I can't come and die for a job. So I feel like you should never kind of put a limit on your age. So as long as you have things in place that will be able to support you while you are going through this transitionary period, I think you should go for it personally and do what makes you happy.
I would jump in and mimic exactly what Gina said. I don't think there's an age, or I don't think there's a maximum kind of time that you need to be in one career to switch to another. I think go for it if you want to go for it. Put your mental health and your happiness first. If it's not working for you, if you just want to try something new, definitely just go for it. Obviously, there's practical factors, but those things aside, whilst you're able, just absolutely go for it.
Yeah, I think similar to what Gina and Makeda have said, I do try to, I say to people that the best time to probably plant an Iroko tree was 25 years ago, and the best time to do the same thing again is now. So it's never too late, regardless of, where you are in your career, whatever stage you are at the moment. So it's just good for you to just get started, just do it, just like Nike, do it.
Amazing, love that. We're going to go on to the last couple of questions just because of time. We have a question that's come through on Zoom for Gina. And the question is, what is a big challenge that you faced which has been caused by misconceptions? So for example, starting a business costs money or requires a bulletproof business plan, or it's hard to do whilst working a 9 to 5. Do you want me to read the question again?
No, I've got it. So I was just trying to unmute myself on a Clubhouse. Funnily enough, I think all those 3 examples that Lawson's given, I've kind of like dabbled with. So, it's gone. Hold on. Okay, yeah. So I definitely was big on, I need to have a perfect business plan. But if I'm honest with you, I can honestly say that my business plan never got completed, and to this day still hasn't been complete. And I'm 7 years in, and I don't remember the last time I even looked at my business plan. But what was really funny was, I think last year, I randomly was like deleting documents off my laptop for because I didn't have enough space. And I found my business plan, and it was so crazy because I'm so in alignment, and it's mad because I haven't looked at my business plan since 2013, 14. So to look back last year and read it and be like, wow, like I've ticked off a lot of the stuff that I planned to do, just really gave me confirmation that what I'm doing is what I'm meant to be doing. So yeah, I guess I didn't allow that to kind of stop me from moving forward, because like I said, my business plan never got completed, to be honest with you. But I still managed to kind of move forward with my business. So yeah, in terms of money, I guess it depends on the business that you're doing, and in terms of the funds. So growing up, I guess I've always kind of been a saver. So I've always kind of liked saving money and having like money there that I could look at. It always made me feel like proud and happy. So I always made sure I had savings. So that's definitely something that helped me. And like I said, when I transitioned into my business from my 9 to 5, I made sure I did it with a financial goal in mind, because I knew that, especially with business, it can be quite inconsistent, especially when you're starting up. So I never wanted money to be the reason why I didn't kind of continue and pursue what I was doing. I made sure that I eliminated that factor by, when I was working my 9 to 5 and doing my business, I made sure I saved a lot of the money to make sure that when I did finally quit, it put me in the best position possible. And then in terms of doing it while a 9 to 5, again, Hannah probably can like bear witness to this. I managed to literally run a business and a 9 to 5 for the best part of, I'd say, 4 years. And that would look like waking up in the morning, getting to the gym for 7, training a client. After that, going to work, getting to work for 9, leaving work at 5, going back to the gym, training clients in the evening, and then training myself or trying to fit that in there, and then going home and doing it all again. And then on weekends, spending my whole weekends doing meal prep. So it's definitely doable. It's just very tiring. And it depends on the kind of person that you are. So it's not for everyone. And I would never advise everyone to kind of do it the way I did, because it started to kind of like, I had to basically, that also forced me to kind of make the transition, because it became too overwhelming. And I guess I started to kind of suffer mentally, because it was like, I was always tired, you know, I was miserable, but it wasn't because I wasn't happy doing what I was doing. I was just extremely overwhelmed and fatigued. So it kind of took a bit of the joy out of what I was doing, but it's definitely doable. I guess it's all about balance and making it work for you, and finding yourself in a position where you are able to kind of just step out and then doing it on your own. Yeah.
Amazing advice. Thank you so much, Gina. On to the last couple of questions now. So this is for all the panelists. The question is, what has been your most satisfying moment in your career to date? So if I start with Makeda.
Sorry, just trying to unmute. Most satisfying moment. I would say when, so this is not, it's not really a career one. So when I worked at Deloitte, I managed a team that were based offshore. So they're based in Romania. And it was very tricky. If anyone's ever managed or an offshore team, it was really tricky. But it was a really proud point in my career, because it was my first time doing any type of line management. And we delivered this product which went live on time and was functional and worked really well. But that wasn't the best part. The best part about it was the feedback and just the happiness of my team. And I always pride myself on like, work's great, career is great, but everyone has to be happy. Like, we have to have joy. We can't be at work and be suffering. And it was the proudest point, because in my career, it's very fast paced. Most people are stressed, and it's a lot of hard work. And in that moment, the fact that I was able to manage this team who were based offshore and then also deliver this product to our client on time, I was really proud about that. And yeah, there are probably more exciting moments, but that for me was the point that I always think about when I'm having tough times at work.
Definitely understand that. Over to you, Gina.
I don't think I have like one moment, but I guess working with some of the people and the brands I've been able to work with, sometimes I pinch myself like, oh my gosh, I did that. And it's crazy, because in the beginning, when you're first starting out, you have these massive dreams and you have like vision boards and you stick logos and names of people that you want to work with and stuff. And it seems so far out of reach. So when it actually happens and it's so regular or like so normal, you just think, damn, like, I don't know, like I've had a lot of those moments where I just reflect and think, wow, like I really started off like really hoping that this moment would come. So when it actually does come, it's definitely very satisfying and kind of just, yeah, it's just, it's sweet. So yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, for me, I think, yeah, there are multiple ones, but one that I think is very recent to me is actually getting promoted to vice president at my current shop. I think for me, I just find that very, very, just delighted that happened, because again, it was a year that, has been filled with so much, so much stuff and I work in a very competitive environment where you need to give more than 100% for you to actually be able to actually get that type of promotion. And actually seeing the direct impact of all of my efforts, coming out, in that way, I find very, very satisfying. I was just super excited about it. And I would say in addition to all of that, my day-to-day job is around people, right? And it's more of, like I said earlier, it is advising the senior leaders within the business around, all of the people-related situation. And, I've been I've been at the center of kind of rolling out a number of people-related initiative, and the feedback that you actually get from that is one of the things that just gives me joy. Just kind of listening to people's experience, how people are very grateful for those type of things, and how much care and support that you actually show to people, especially at the time of need. I find that so satisfying. And it's probably one of the things that just keeps my positive heart on every single time I think about how difficult work has been so far. But when I remember those things, it just gives me joy, and always something to always reflect on, and always to just keep the positive light going. Thank you.
Amazing. So I just want to thank all of our panelists today, Makeda, Gina, Baba, and Mary also. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your journeys, things that have helped you. And also congratulations on all your successes as well, because I know you guys work so hard, and you've worked so hard to get where you are. So congratulations on all your success, and thank you for joining us today. Just before we wrap up, do you guys, I want to go around the table and just see if anyone has any final words of encouragement, any favorite quotes, anything that you want to share, and also let people know where they can find you and where they can contact you. I will start with, let's go with Makeda.
So if you know me, I've always got a quote, but I don't have one now. But what I will say is just be bold and do the things that you want to do. Don't stick to strict timelines or plans that you set for your career. Things can change, your plans can change, but always have a vision. And your vision is that thing, or those sets of things that don't change even when your plans or your immediate circumstances change. So stick to your vision and have fun with it, and be bold. And as for where you can find me, all my information is on my Clubhouse bio, but my website is makedaphillips.com. I write, I've got some writing and other kind of career content on there, so feel free to check that out as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Makeda. Gina?
I would say, is that me? No, I would say focus on your flaws. And it sounds really like negative, but it's like recently I've become really, really big on like self-help books, and they've helped me so much in areas where I know that I lack. So I'm quite accountable to myself and very self-aware. So I feel like if there are areas that you kind of aren't great with, so like time management maybe, or like procrastination, building habits, stuff like that, I'd say try to focus on those kind of characteristics, because they will transfer into your business and allow you to kind of just become the best person for the job that you are doing. Like Makeda, I also say have fun with it. Just be confident and believe in your own source, and believe that there are so many brands in the aisle. So don't worry about being another one. Like, just focus on your USP and what you are offering and what makes you different. And just by doing that, people naturally gravitate towards you. In terms of where you can find me, it's in my Clubhouse bio, but across socials, it's just _Geen, and that is it for me.
I love that. If there's one thing I'm taking away from today, is be my own bread brand. There's Hovis, there's Kingsmill, but I'm going to be my own bread brand. Thank you so much, Gina. And Jide, any final word from you?
Yeah, I've got to figure out what brand exactly I want to be now. So yeah, but bread brand, definitely one. I've got a couple of things, if you guys don't mind, that I've just written down. I think number one for me is 100% is never enough. You know, you cannot give 100% and expect an exceptional result to come out of it. Everyone is being paid to give 100%. So what stands you out is you actually giving more than 100%. So always think about things that way. If the other guy is, you know, is doing 9 to 5 in quotes, I'm not saying you do long hours, but if the other guy is doing 9 to 5, you probably need to do 9 to 5:30, you know, to just stand out and do way more than what that person is saying. And, you know, and not just about the hours, but pretty much around the quality of the work that you deliver. And that's one. The other thing is, I think it's fine to make mistakes. You know, don't be scared of making mistakes. You know, the whole idea of making mistakes is for you to learn. You know, the downside, you know, I think the negative side of when you make mistakes is when you actually make the same mistake repeatedly as a result of doing exactly the same thing over and over again. So fine to make mistakes, just learn from those mistakes and figure out other ways to avoid making those mistakes. The other thing I have here, sorry, I've got a number of things. Is it fine if I just crack on? Sorry, I was just writing stuff down. All right. So the other thing is, network with people and ask questions, because again, like, you know, like you've had, you know, the other two guest speakers, you know, you've got Makeda who have moved, you know, across multiple industries, and Gina too as well, as kind of, you know, transition from that 9 to 5 into doing something totally different from what she was doing previously. What I often see when people actually network on LinkedIn, because again, when I talked about the 3 pillars around kind of combining all of those things together, and networking probably being one of those ways to get started in some of those industries or those career paths that you're very interested in. People reach out to guys on LinkedIn asking for jobs. You know, avoid doing that. Don't just do that. You know, I think when you reach out to people on LinkedIn, speak to people and say to them that you're very much interested in learning about what they do and getting more insight into that specific industry. Position yourself in a much more, you know, in a way that will be receptive to the person you send the email to, rather than someone reading your email and the first thing they see is, oh yeah, I'm actually looking to switch careers. Can I get a job at your company? I'm sorry, I'm never ever going to reply you, because again, and that's probably the same thing for most people. The other thing is, when I started my career, one advice that one of the senior folks gave to me that I think is very, very useful, and I share that with people, you know, when I spend time with them, is when you find yourself in a new environment, try to navigate your path. And in navigating, that means that you need to be able to figure out who is who in a specific industry, know who, you know, who is who and what is it that they're responsible for. That way, you can create a network for yourself that helps you deliver things faster. You're very efficient in delivering on those tasks. And you can just, you know, what's it called? When you give tasks out to people, what's that called again? Delegate. Yeah, you can just delegate things to people to just kind of make things happen for you, and you are the center of it, and people just see you as that guy that knows how to coordinate or lead things and make things happen. Another thing, self-promotion is very important in your career. You know, I've seen a lot of the time people say, oh, I don't want to come across as I'm showing off. I don't want to come across as, oh yeah, this and that. You know what? Self-promotion is very, very key. It's very, very important, especially if you work in a super competitive environment. A lot of the time, people tend to struggle with, how do I present myself, or how do I say this thing in a way that doesn't come across as I'm showing off? I think you can show off in a very positive way. You know, it's pretty much around how. So I would suggest to you that, you know, read books, type on Google and say, how do I self-promote myself, to learn stuff. So I don't bore you with the details of how to actually go about doing that. And lastly on my list is, wellness is very, very important. Your well-being is super, super important. You know, I'm also, you know, I'm trying my best in that context as well to get better on a day-to-day basis. But it's fine to work, do those hours, give your best and all of that, but still look after yourself. You know, take rest, drink a lot of water, go out, you know, take a walk, spend time with friends and family. Those are very, very important, you know, compared to any other thing that you can think about from either career or whatever it is. I think that will be all from me. And in terms of where to find me, guys, you know, follow my, you know, I've got some details on my bio. So follow me on LinkedIn, follow me on Instagram, on Twitter. Make sure you check out my website too as well. Like I said, I talk about money and technology. You can check out gdeteller.com. All right, thanks everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jide. Thank you again to all our panelists. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. As Mary mentioned earlier, this event is brought to you by YPC, Young Professionals Connect. You can find us on Instagram at YPC_London. And you can also visit the website ypcglobal.com. If you click on Mary's bio, all the details are in there too. We offer, you know, webinars such as this. We offer learning and development courses, mentoring courses, and we provide, we put on, you know, hopefully when outside opens again, we will be back to putting on sort of networking events. So do connect with us, do follow us on Instagram, and we look forward to hosting you again soon. Thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you so much to our panelists again tonight.